Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends. And we're here to talk about our inner guru, finding the last frontier and
Final
meeting our
frontier.
inner whatever. Say it for me, Jeannie, please.
Not a problem. It's the final frontier. Meet your inner guru.
Thank you.
To help us with the discussion, I have a couple of quotes.
Whoa. Let me.
Okay.
One moment and then you'll go there.
I love these candid moments.
We are going to be on YouTube today because of technical difficulties with Facebook. I cannot go live on Facebook. So that link will be put in Facebook in a few moments. Having said that, I have a wonderful group today. I have Jeannie here. I have Kamran Rizvi, who is amazing. And also an amazing 14-year-old boy that I have to remind myself every time he opens his mouth that he is only 14. People don't believe him, he tells me. And, to be honest with you, I don't believe he is a 14-year-old kid. But he claims he is, and his parents told me the same.
If you or a loved one are fighting diabetes, then this recent discovery could save.
Who was that?
That was me, and it was a mistake.
Oh, okay. So that was you, and we know where it was coming from. Okay, then I don't need to worry about it being me.
Yeah.
Having said that, I am going to let Jeannie take over so I can get the YouTube link and get everything out for people to watch. Jean, go to it. Please.
Okay. I found a couple of quotes, and one I'm going to repeat from Tuesday. The first one says, "It's not necessary to meet your guru on the physical plane. The guru is not external." And that's from Neem Karoli Baba, a Hindu guru who was an influence to many of our current influencers in this day and age. One was Ram Dass. So I thought that was perfect. The other is from an author and self-help guru, Karen Samuelson, and she said, "If you want to better hear what you are truly feeling or thinking, stop talking about it. Sit quietly, listen to your inner guru." So again, it's a really good piece of advice. But more importantly, from Gene Roddenberry, "Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before." Interpreted for today by me, inner space, the broadest frontier. These are the voyages of the brave. The ultimate mission is to explore strange new understandings, to seek out inner counsel and wise connections, to boldly go where no one else can travel. So I said that on Tuesday, but I thought I had to say that again today because the idea when Carla and I were talking about this show was, here we are, we've got our billionaires fighting to be the first to get into space. And we've done a lot of work on getting into space. We've got we have machines that are on Mars right now. And we've got satellites or rocket ships or whatever you call them that are trying to get to the most outer reaches of our current galaxy. So we're doing a lot. And yet we have an ocean that takes up about 3/4 of the world, and we know very little about it. So using that as a example, we humans, each of us, are spending most of our time looking for outer stimulus, checking what's going on outside of us, seeing what people think of us, or looking for judgments outside of ourselves. And we don't spend as much time as we should going deeper into who we are in our inner selves and exploring that inner guru, if you will. Because I've said to many people, sit down and journal. I've actually said journal with your non-dominant hand, and you'll be amazed at some of the wisdom that comes out of your own mind, the counsel you can give yourself. So, Kamran, how does that sit in your head?
Lovely. I mean, I think your introduction has been remarkable. I was lost in space, and the outer space seemed like a comedy. And I think the inner space, the inner guru that we need to consult, seemed like a hugely challenging journey, much, much harder than going in a space shuttle with a $2 million price tag, So thank you, Jeannie, for that fantastic introduction. Nothing is more complex than human beings themselves. And I feel rather amused when asking people, do you know yourself? And you get this answer, of course I do. If I don't, who will? And, I say to myself, oh my God, this guy may have seen the ocean, but has no idea what the ocean contains. And really, that's where it boils down to. I mean, when you don't have a question, the exploration stops. And why would you go to your inner guru if you thought you had all the answers? So I feel that coming out of this superficial, surface-driven information into something more meaningful, more significant, and going deeper within. So when I saw this topic, I naturally went to the internet and wanted to see what are the kind of tips and tricks given on the internet, and which ones can I relate to? Because I find that it requires a lot of daring to be able to take this journey within. It's not an easy thing. Bungee jumping is essentially an inner journey. I mean, we may be doing that bungee jump, but it's really conquering the fears that we have within ourselves. And the mysteries that lie within need to be untapped. And there are many, many ways of doing it. And I came across an article which actually suggests 9 practical things that we can do, and one of which, Jeannie, you have already mentioned, journaling. And the interesting bit was write with your left hand and see what your mind unveils and reveals to you. So that I thought was a very good exercise. I'm going to try that tonight before going to bed. I'll write my day's diary and see what happens. And we'll report back to you next time we meet. But these 9 tips are really clustered around 3 areas: examining your life, figuring out what's missing, and taking steps towards fulfillment. I mean, that's how self-discovery, an intimidating concept, has been described in terms of process. And the 9 tips I would like to share in my next round, but I thought that it was very, very interesting. And the one that I would like to highlight at this point is evaluate your skills in terms of where you wish to be in life and how you visualize your future and what are your current skills and which ones would you like to develop to a higher level. So I just thought that let's keep it less difficult for now.
Yeah, I think taking simple first steps is critical in making any kind of change, if you will. Change doesn't happen overnight, even though in today's TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, TV world, it looks like it, because you have a scene and then boom, you have another scene. But to get there, what most people don't know TV production, to be able to change scenes could take hours to actually move things around. And in the social media world, we pick the scenes that are most representative. So we show the world what we think is the best of us and not show what else is going on. You know, I was telling my folks at work that I got to go see my grandkids last night, and it's been a while because they got ill and they were in quarantine. And so it was several weeks of not being able to see my grandkids. My granddaughter's only 4 months old, so in that time frame, she's completely changed, you know. But I went to pick her up and say hello, and she looked at me, and the startled look on her face told me it's going to be a loud moment. She wailed. She was not comfortable seeing this new person again, you know. And there's a part of me that was like, oh my God, she hates me, because that's the first inclination I had. And then I thought, wait a second, look at it from her perspective. You know, it's 4-month-old baby who has only seen her mom and dad and brothers, you know, and this new face comes in. So we don't always know what goes on in somebody's life before we see them. And that's the same kind of thing with the inner guru. We kind of think we know because we see what's in our conscious minds. But it's like in real life, we don't always listen to our own inner self. Like we don't always listen to our friends and loved ones. So the journaling is a great tool. Meditation is a great tool. Just saying, listen, and focus on listening is a great tool, because we need to be able to listen to our own guidance. We know so much more about what we personally need if we just sit down and sit quietly. And in many religious traditions, they talk about the still small voice. And that still small voice is your intuitive inner guide way in the back. You know, you have to peel away the noise. You have to peel away the cacophony, which is, I know is a big word. I'm going to stop myself and say, I know that's a big word, but it means extremely discordant, competitive noise. It's way out there on the noise level. We live in a lifetime that we have so much noise that it's almost impossible to actually hear that still small voice. And that's why I thought this would be a great subject. Ali, welcome back. I saw that you had to pop off and now you're back in. How does this play in your mind? And I'm asking because you have a relatively new perspective on this, given that you're representing the next generation, you know, which, you know, going with the Star Trek theme is an important thing, because after Star Trek came the next generation.
Well, first of all, it's a lovely topic. I love it how Sir Kamran and you really very well elaborated on this subject, and I am truly inspired and moved. So I was listening to Sir Kamran, and I found out he was talking about visions, and he was talking about visualizing. I remember when I was younger, which I still am, I used to kiss my dad on his forehead before going to school. And after every kiss, he would say, "Ah, roshni aa gayi," which means light is here. Now, I might have not fully understood what it meant back then, but because of his response, I understood that light actually has way more depth than just illuminating our lives. You know what I mean? I think light means so much. It's hope, it's beauty, it's strength. No matter where we are and what we are going through, we must try always try and keep that light within us alive. It is easy to feel hopeful and grateful when you are on a vacation. It is easy to feel hopeful on joyous days. It is easy to feel grateful when the sunset looks beautiful. But believe me, that we must reside in hope, faith, belief, and gratitude. And we must not dive in and out of it. Even on the days when it is harder to do so, we must live here in the moment, which is only possible through mindfulness. Talking about mindfulness, it is the idea of being in the current moment without listening to the past or thinking about the future. It is about being in the moment. So here are some of the things I'm sharing, which have actually worked for me over the years. In my 14 years of age, I was recently listed as one of the top 50 world's most influential young leaders by an organization, becoming one of Pakistan's youngest motivational coach and having an award for that, speaking to multiple international organizations. It wasn't easy. You know, you have to earn that influence. It is rightly said that power can be taken, but influence can only be earned. And since we are talking about an inner group, I think when you truly learn to recognize yourself, then you excel. You excel tremendously. So they say leadership is a capacity to transform vision into reality. Now, here comes a very important question. What dream or vision do you want to turn into reality? For instance, for example, I always wanted to do business. I wanted to get an Oscar, and I wanted to become a doctor and a Hollywood movie star. I always wanted to be a bestseller writer. I want to visit Egypt and have a look at the Great Pyramids of Giza, or I want to have a cup of coffee with Oprah Winfrey one evening. Now, all these visions and manifestations and everything, it's there, but it is not possible for you to work on your dreams, or, you know, it is something that you always know because you feel it. You lie awake at night. You talk about your dreams with your partner and your friends, but then you ask yourself, how is it possible? How can I make that happen? I think you can live the life you desire. It's right there in front of you. But in order to achieve it, you must see it, believe it, and then you must not try, but graciously ask and train your brain to execute your vision into reality. I was talking about light. So for me, hope, faith, gratitude has always been very important and very crucial in making me the kind of person which I am today. Now, here I'd like to share 6 points about how do we see our vision? How do we manifest our vision? Number one, I hope I remember all 6 of them. Number one is figuring out what makes you respect yourself. You respect your inner self. You know what I mean? Second, number 2, being honest about who you are and who you aren't. You must draw a comparison line. Number 3, you must respect yourself by taking action around things that triggers you or that excites you. And number 4, I believe, is to stop trying so hard to be normal. It is okay to be not normal. It is okay to be abnormal. It is okay to think out of the box sometimes. Number 5 actually, is do not let other people define your boundaries. You have to listen to your inner self, your inner guru. You know what I mean? So number 6, okay. Number 6 is your self-worth is defined by you, not other people, not anyone, not even your parents. I read this in Stephen Covey's book. He says, Don't let others give you a script. Don't live to that script. Make your own script. Live your life to your own terms. I think then you can truly and authentically reveal or discover that inner guru that is hidden deep inside you. It is not difficult. It is not obscure to do that. It is very simple. You just need to follow some of the basic things and taking life easy and making the best out of it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Well, I'm sure that's not all you have, but Carla, I just wanted to say to you in front of Ali, out of the mouths of babes, from his lips to God's ears. Isn't that true? What you just said, Ali, is a lot of wisdom, but you made it fairly simple to understand. Most of us have read it in about 15, 20 books before we could get it to that level. So I'm going to ask that when Carla gets it up on the Facebook page and on LinkedIn, that you go in and put a comment in and say, here's my 6 points.
Yes, yes. I was thinking about it, I was thinking about it. Yeah. For the viewers. Yeah.
Yeah, because note-taking doesn't always happen when somebody's listening to or watching us. And I really don't want our viewers to be worried about taking notes, but I do think that that's some really good summarization of a whole wing of the library and the bookstore in self-help. Here are 6 things, 6 steps you can start today.
Yeah. And I'm writing a book. I'm actually co-authoring a book with, I don't know, Sir Kamran Rizvi know this or not. He's a part of it, and I am also a part of it. So it's happening already, and these 6 points are definitely going to be there. Yeah.
So actually, we were talking about that earlier today. And what I would like to suggest is that this tiny thing, few moments that Ali had spoken about, we will spotlight it as a small video on MindPlore with Carla and Friends as one of those videos that you guys can go and see those small parts. Because as I was listening, it reminded me that a 14-year-old boy can be much older than 14 in wisdom. And that could go for anyone at any age. And we need to begin to listen to it. And I am sure now that Kamran has something good to say, because he only talks after someone else has spoken.
I'd like to interject one thing first, and that's for our viewers. Oftentimes we learn by listening to other people, because other people can filter information and provide us that information in a more sizable bite, if you will. And so I want to thank you, Ali. I'm one of those learners that I need to listen and to see, and I need to hear something 2 or 3 times. So that's one of the reasons we like to get together and talk about these things. Kamran, let me just hit it over to you.
Well, I would like to say that we have in Ali an old man in a young body, and in me you have a young man in an old body. So, so that I think is the first thing I must say. Because, and Carol, I could say that, yes, Carla.
You are not an old being.
No.
Your body may be old, but who you are, your soul is very young.
Yes.
And I
Thank you.
you would be saying that the same for me. That
of course.
Maybe the body is a little older and has been around, but the soul and who you really are has never aged at all.
Of course. I mean, age is a number, youth is an attitude. So there you go. I don't think Ali will ever age anyway. I mean, he's going to stay young forever. And inshallah, for as long as he lives. So yes, the 9 tips that I found on this article are very, linked, and it has some teasing questions, which I think will unpack the inner journey, meeting our inner guru, finding the final frontier, or at least heading towards it during our lifetime. So start by visualizing your ideal self. This is where Ali was taking us in his very brief 6-point talk. And this capacity to imagine has to be tapped, because what we can imagine sincerely with responsibility is proof of our potential in itself. So never shy away from that. It takes confidence to imagine beautiful things. And here are some questions, which I really liked. And I was asking myself, what do I want from life? Simple though it is, but the answer is profound, I'm sure. Where do I see myself in 5 to 10 years from now? What do I regret? And what makes me proud of myself? And these are some questions that I feel will help us identify our vision for ourselves. And then the next, the second of the 9 is explore your passions. Maybe a passion for helping others guided you to the field of medicine, but your current position in the medical billing doesn't quite fulfill your urge to provide compassionate care. So living out your passion might involve identifying. So passion is one. The second one. The third one, they say, try new things. I like this because I love trying new things. And at times you make a fool of yourself, but in doing so, you go deeper, closer to your inner guru, because every time you do something you've never done before, you discover a new person within yourself. And I would suggest that, mountain climbers and bungee jumpers and abseiling, all of these adventurous people are really meeting their inner guru in outer experiences. So try new things, I would encourage profoundly. Singing is something that a lot of people sing in the bathroom, but why not come on stage and sing? Evaluate your skills. I touched upon it. This was the 4th one. Am I right, Ali? Is this the 4th?
Yes, I hope so. Yeah.
Then 5th one would be identify what you value about yourself. Again, it is a reflection of what Ali was saying. What do you value about yourself? This is self-respect. This is discovering certain traits and qualities that you have. For example, honesty, compassion, loyalty, creativity, courage, intelligence, whatever. And then ask yourself questions. Why do I do the things I do? What drives me? What am I missing? What kind of impact do my choices have on the life I want? I thought this question really made me review my last week, and choices we make really shape our future as well. Then we go to the next, learn something new. Now, whether it's reading a book, going to online tools, or the suggestions are remarkably useful. Study historical or scientific concepts, or go online and do meditation. There are apps for that, languages, and stuff like that. Keep a journal. Now, this is what, Jeanne, you were mentioning, very, very useful. Then talk to a therapist. You don't have to be mentally or unhealthy to be talking to a therapist. I think any person who wants to get a better sense, a therapist to me is a sounding board. Go to them and explore and let them ask you questions and help you meet your inner guru. Sometimes an external interventionist can be very helpful. And yes, these were some of the tips. And I feel that this journey within self, we often ignore. I would like to sum up this final frontier by saying me time is something we've always talked about. Yet, how much me time do we give ourselves in a given day? I'm not sure. I have started deliberately giving myself at least half an hour a day when I'm just with myself and in a very quiet space, no television, no device, just with myself, eyes closed, sitting and just letting thoughts come and go and enjoying that moment. Me time is most important, because if you are not there, nothing is there. If you are there together, focused and alive, and the light is within you, then the whole world is alit. And me time is the way to get to the final frontier. Each day takes you closer if you make time for me time. Thank you.
It's very true. It's very, very true. Even if, I love that you say that it's, at least a half an hour for you, but people might need to build up to that, because we get to be a little hyperactive, ADHD in today's parlance, and want to bounce off the walls. And, how can I sit quietly without watching a TikTok video? How can I sit quietly without watching something on TV? It's actually a miracle in a moment when you can take even just a minute or 2 minutes to just take a deep breath, have no outer stimulus at all, and just sit quietly. I know I kind of laugh at this, but when I was busy in a corporate job, handling, one of the things that I did was handled crisis communications for a very large company, and things would get really crazy and you feel like everything's out of control, and they would go, "Where'd Jeanne go?" Well, I would go into the bathroom where I could spend, 2 or 3 minutes to just collect myself, to just sit quietly and go, okay, what do I need to do? And take that deep breath. And then when I'd walk back out and be with all the people who were, all frothed up because this crisis that was going to end the world in their minds, was going crazy. And I could stand up in front of them and say, all right, let's look at what's really going on. And give a perspective, on how this may seem like a crisis, but here's how we deal with it. So just that 2-minute break was powerful. And from that, I started to build a little bit more and a little bit more. So I sit for about 15 minutes quietly. And I try to do it every day, but it doesn't always happen. But it's a habit that we should put a lot of value behind, but we don't. Because how many of us remember being told as a kid, idle hands are the devil's workshop, or you're going to get into trouble if you don't get busy doing something. Well, really, there is no devil's workshop. That's just how you interpret things. And if you can sit quietly and listen to that voice, and there is a voice or a thought pattern or something so deep in our head that we don't hear it until we really try to. But it takes time and practice. So I say, Kamran, you gave us a really good insight. We, start with 2 minutes, build to 30. It's like exercise. They say, go out and walk around the block. And then the next day, walk around 2 blocks, and you build it up. So finding that mindfulness moment, and thank you, Ollie, when you described mindfulness, that was, again, one of those really crisp ways of bringing it to reality. When other people write a whole book about it, you said it in one sentence about being present. And that's part of reaching into that inner guru. I think if we could all be present in our own lives, like even just for 30 minutes a day, we will change the world, because we change, and we change because we're looking at here and now. We're looking at what's going on in here. What is the wisdom that I came to this earth to impart? I've always had a belief that we're here to do something or to learn something, and we don't leave until we've learned it or done it. And sometimes it's something very simple. We'll never know until we get to the next plane. But we go about our lives and somehow we get it done. Well, what it could be is our job is to change somebody's perspective so that they can do what they do, what they need. Our job might be raising a very creative, intelligent, hyperactive child so that they can become fulfilled and, you know, write that book or become the leader. Or I'm not saying you're hyperactive, Ali. I'm just talking about all the young men that I helped raise. But, you know, saying in the moment, and I know I did this at one point, is like, I'm not going to break the spirit. I'm going to honor the spirit of this child. And I'm going to try to get through this in a different way. And that brought a new perspective to how I was interacting with a particular child. And now I bring that to everything. And like, okay, that's an important insight. Why, even though it's not what I want, and it's not on my agenda, why am I having to understand it and try to figure it out? And that comes from, there's a voice way deep in here that I hardly ever hear, that just kind of, for me, it's a physical ping in a sense in the back of my head that goes, whoop. And I literally go, my head goes up and I'm trying to figure it out, but that's an inclination or intuition is coming. And that intuition is a very powerful tool that I don't think we respect much. What do you think, Kamran?
Yes, you reminded me of Gary Kasparov, and when he was really at the top of the game of chess. And I read this article in the Harvard Business Review, in which he said that in a game of chess, there are several moves that you have to think ahead. And using your rational mind, you can barely foresee 2 or 3 steps of what the opponent might do. And in order to be a world champion, you've got to be 16 steps ahead. And that you can never do unless you train your intuition to guide you, because your intuitive capacity can give you quantum advantage in any given situation. And training your intuition is remarkably important. And I feel that that HBR article on Gary Kasparov is something I'd recommend everyone listening on, the importance of for strategic thinking, because we are living in a very volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. And we need to develop our intuitive capacity to deal with the fog that surrounds us. And the other part that I wanted to share with you is, lately I've started giving an exercise in workshops that I run. And if there are 20 participants, I say, well, today, gentlemen and ladies, I'm going to ask you to do something that is the hardest and something you've never done. And I dare them. So they're wondering as to what is it that I'm going to get them to do. And when the suspense is over, I say, well, listen, it's a 10-minute exercise. You're going to step out of this hall. You'll go out into the garden. You'll stand alone, find a quiet space. Then what? Then 10 minutes, do nothing. Do absolutely nothing for 10 minutes. What do you mean, do nothing? And the very notion is so difficult. I said, but didn't I say it's going to be hard? Just do nothing. And don't ask me questions. Just find a quiet corner. Don't do anything. Leave your devices in the hall. And I tell you, it takes me at least 5 minutes to get them to go. And then they fidget, and then I have snoops out there, facilitators whose job it is to go and tap them on the shoulder if they're distracted. Just so that they come back and they tell you stories of the thoughts that they have missed for so long that came to them. And just in 10 minutes, you can spend 2 hours debriefing. It's just that opportunity one has to give people. Just do nothing for 10 minutes. For God's sake, stop. I mean, you give your air conditioner a rest, you give your exhaust fans a rest, you give your computer a rest. Why the hell don't you give yourself a rest? Even when you're sleeping, you're not doing anything. Something is happening while you sleep. A sound sleep is very different from the kind of average sleep we have. Sleep is a science. So there you go.
I
I
think,
hope our listeners are listening and will actually attempt the 10-minute do nothing exercise.
yeah, and I think I'm going to add that into some of my workshops because that is brilliant. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Carla?
I've loved
Yeah,
you.
something, Cameron, and actually I have a question. Many people, when they say, I am going to do 10 minutes of nothing, that's very, very scary. The first time, shouldn't we, and I'm asking you, maybe I'm wrong, is ask them to do 1 minute of nothing. Just sit at your desk for 1 minute. You're not going to talk. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to sit there. And after they've done 1 minute, maybe 3 or 4 times, and then do that as a homework assignment for the next 4 days, 1 minute of nothing. And as the time goes on, the art of doing nothing will become 2 minutes. Okay, you mastered 1 minute. Let's master 2 minutes.
I
And
think,
we
Carla,
easily or slowly begin to move it forward.
Yeah.
I think, Carla, it's a difference between teaching a class and doing a workshop. If I had somebody coming in, if I had a group coming in every week to do a class, I would do it exactly how you just said it. Because yes, working at home, viewers doing this on yourself, try 1 minute and you will be surprised at how much information you feel like you're missing out in 1 minute. Because I think it's FOMO, fear of missing out, is a huge, huge psychological issue that we need to deal with. And going from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, that's a great exercise for everybody. And I would actually say put it on a chart so that you know every day on the calendar what you've done. But in the case where Kamran's got 20, executives or adults in a room for a workshop that might be 1 or 2 days, I think making them jump into the deep end with 10 minutes is powerfully effective. And I would love to see a video, Kamran, of 10 or 15 high-powered CEOs from around the world in that garden and watch the looks on their faces as nobody comes to interrupt them. Nobody comes to ask them a question. They can't be on Twitter to see what people are seeing about them. They can't be barking orders at anybody because there's nobody there. It would be very illuminating, I would imagine, to see the consternation that would start. And then hopefully by the end of the 10 minutes, the relaxed look on their faces.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I
I'm going to have to get their permission for the video recording because I'm not sure if they will allow, but nevertheless, it's an idea to capture with consent, of course. And yes, it is highly revealing though, highly revealing. There's so much content in there that is bottled up, but we never give ourselves the luxury of listening to the resources we have within the final frontier, the journey to the final frontier. Yeah. And I love the way you started out. The billionaires going to the outer space. Hey, what about the inner space? It doesn't take billions. It only takes a commitment to invest some time of your life into discovering what life really is.
Yeah, I have a joke that I pull up from time to time when things get a little overly serious, especially when it regards planning. And I say, do you know how to make God laugh? And people usually kind of look at me like, what, why are you asking that question? And I go, you simply tell him your plans. Because the idea in many philosophical trains of thought is that we don't know but a nano bit of the information available in the universe, and it comes through that intuition. that connection to the higher power, that connection to that being, whatever, in most times we call it the, God or Allah or Bhagavad Gita or Buddha. We have all these names, but in reality, it's something out there that we don't know. Well, it's really something in here. We're connected. In the Course in Miracles, they teach to think of that being as a sun, and at the end of each sun ray is one of us. So we're all connected, and as we go up that sun ray in our mind, that's how we can visualize our own higher power. So literally, you can think and ask permission from one higher power to the other, and try to talk in your meditative state. That's going to take a lot of practice and a lot of getting over potential obstacles of what we've been taught. But I did something once that I think it's a story that my son will probably get mad at me for telling, because however, I was actually in the hospital recovering from surgery when the Giants were in the World Series, and my son came to visit me, and he's like, "Mom, I'm so worried, the game, they're not doing so good." And I said, "Well, let's wait a minute, hang on." And I went into a kind of like a brief meditative moment, and I was breathing in, and I said something like, "Can I have permission to speak to," and it was one of the players, and we're watching it on TV, and I was like, "All right," and out loud I said, "So you need to settle down. You need to remember why you're here. It doesn't matter if you don't get a home run, just get on base. We need to get you on base." And I'll be a monkey's uncle, that player hit a double. And my son was like, "Did you do that?" And I did it 3 times that day, and they ended up winning the game. And he walked out thinking I was a miracle worker. It doesn't matter. It's just in that moment I was calming him down, but trying to show to him that there's more to life than what we see. But I love this story because whether I did anything or not doesn't matter. He now believes and thinks that you can do more. You can connect. And that's what I really wanted, was to get him to think outside of himself a little bit. And outside of himself is not really the right phrase. When he was thinking, I wanted him to think about inside himself, the connection that he has to everybody.
And I was very keen to ask a question of Ali based on our conversation and the theme. That being a 14-year-old is fine, and crafting a future which is inspiring is brilliant. But then how does someone at that age relate to his age group? And is it a challenge to be able to relate to the different capacities that surround you? I mean, particularly in this inner journey concept, I think meeting with our inner guru or the final frontier would be a very deep concept for the early teens anyway. So when you are in your social circle, I mean, is your social circle comprising of older people, or do you have peers your age and they think you're crazy? I mean, how does that work?
Now, first of all, this is one of the best questions someone has ever asked me. I'm glad that you came up with this question. And the answer is yes. Sometimes it is very challenging to relate to the people of my age. It's a battle I fight with my own self. To try and do my best to relate to the people of my age. For example, when I go to school, I meet my school fellows, most importantly, my class fellows. There is definitely a sense of celebrity in me, or a star. The way people treat me at school or in life, it's a bit different than how they treat any ordinary teenager of my age. Sometimes it is a bit challenging in a way that sometimes it's challenging for me and challenging for other people as well. because what I am doing is not something that everyone in my age gets to do. And I'm truly grateful. I have no issues or no problems with doing what I'm doing, or to be here, listening to these amazing people. You guys are visionaries for me. You have no idea. You are all encyclopedias. Listening to Jeannie talking about this huge stuff, she definitely gave us a wider perspective about the inner guru. I love that she'd run to the bathroom and listen to her thoughts for a moment. I loved it. And I think, and now here's what I do. I'm getting a bit off the track, but I want to share this. Here's what I do. When I am sad, I cry. Crying really helps me figure out myself and listening to my thoughts. What you guys have been talking about is actually, if you have read the Ikigai, they call it the Morita therapy in Japanese. So it's all about listening to your thoughts, and that's exactly what I do when someone tells me, hey, you are trying to be extraordinarily phenomenal, and we feel inferior. You are trying to make us you are trying to make us feel, you are superior and we are inferior because you've got so much wisdom and you've got knowledge, you've got following, you've got so many people who love you, but we don't have all of this. So sometimes it's a bit challenging. I'm still figuring out how to relate to people of my age, because I think that is very important in order for me to become a leader and for me to make them, take me as an inspiration. You know what I mean? So definitely, I'm trying way too hard to be as much relatable as I possibly can. One of the best things I do is tell them that, hey, I am just as ordinary as you. I do have my shortcomings. I do go through shortcomings. There are days when I run out of ideas. There are days when I have nothing to say, and there are days when I am crying. I'm not all perfect. I'm not a star. And I think that is what influence is all about. The real meaning of influencer is connecting with the people and making them feel relatable. So yeah, I think I don't tell them that if I have a perfect skin, then it's God gifted. No, I work for it. Or if I have a good body, if I am healthy, if I have if my memory is strong, that's not because it's God gifted or it's spontaneous. No, I have worked on it, and I have worked way too hard. And that's what they should all do in order to reach a place where I have reached so far. All these awards, these nominations, recognition, it doesn't come easy, or it doesn't come out of luck. It comes with a lot of hard work. And without hard work, nothing is really possible. It's a very cliche sentiment. It sounds very ordinary, but it's actually very true. And hard work is something that just doesn't appear out of the blue. You have to practice hard work, as we were talking about practicing. So yeah.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Go on, Jamie.
I was going to say it's always great to see the world from somebody else's eyes, and I will tell you, I've met some celebrities in my time, and I have a brother he's a minor celebrity in New York. He's a jazz singer, and one time he was getting ready to perform, and he puts on this new persona. It's like, you're not my brother anymore. So it was completely different. And I gave him a hug, and I was like, I know what you're doing. I know you're getting into your space, but I want you to understand one thing. You're still my baby brother, no matter what. Yeah. And it's a moment of humility, I think, for us to realize that no matter what we do, that we're still one person in 7 billion plus, and we're unique. Everything we do is unique. There's nobody else out there like you, but you're still one person in a billion, and it takes all 7 billion of us to make the world tick. So beautiful. Adding a little bit of humility is a great thing, and that sounds like what you're trying to do, Ollie.
Yes, exactly.
And the cool thing about it is that everyone on the planet, every flower, every insect, every person has their own inner being and their own reality. And that reality within themselves makes them who they are and makes the world. So there is no one person who should feel they are of no worth to the planet at all. Everyone is of value, and everyone has something to offer.
Yeah, this has been a really good discussion, Carla. I hope the viewers enjoy the tips that Ollie's going to share with us, and they got a little bit of insight to, run off and be by themselves for a few minutes and enjoy the art of doing nothing. I think there's a book in that phrase. The art of listening. Listening is a skill I call a superpower, because it takes more practice than you can imagine, because you have to shut your brain off, because halfway through Kamran saying something, I might be going, what can I say? How can I show that I know enough? How can I insert myself into this? And then I don't hear the rest of what he's saying. Well, we do the same with our own inner guru. We start thinking, we say things like, well, my mind is saying I need to do this, and there's no way I can do that. So that's when I say we block ourselves, and we need to consciously say, left brain, just listen to right brain. It's time. We're not going to block it. We're going to let it come through, because I think our logical self tries to say this is what's going to work in the outer world. And what we're trying to say here is we need to give space to the inner world. We need to let those artistic notions come out, those crazy ideas that might lead us to something that will solve a problem. And the best advice I got from a creative director actually came from a little 100-page book back in the 80s. Roger Van Eck wrote it, and he was a creative director. And he said, I read everything I need to on a problem. I get all the information I can, and then I go fishing for 3 days.
Wow.
And I walked away going, oh, kind of reminded me of what I was told in calculus. In calculus, my tutor in college said, read all the formulas, read the problem over, do everything you can, then go do something else. It's like a recipe, it needs to cook. And I'll be a monkey's uncle again. I would do that. And, a Saturday would go by, and I'd be, trying to get this homework done. And I'd go off and, do a chore or walk my dog. And I'd come back and go, wow, that was kind of simple, but it was just in my head, it was too complex. So listening is something that we have to get better to, that, listening to our own inner guru.
Absolutely. And that we don't do. I know myself, I'll hear something from my own inner guru and I'll say, no, that can't be true. And I walk away from it. And I love it when Abraham Hicks talks about, why don't you want to take the path of least resistance? And that path is always felt when you listen to the inner guru. We need to stop saying you know nothing and accept that that knowledge is there, and it's there for you to use every moment of every day. And you can only know that inner guru if you stop the chatter inside through meditation. Kamran, you look like you have something to say.
Yes. Me time is the way to the final frontier.
And actually, me time is so very important. And as some people know, right now, I need to learn to take me time. And there are at least 2 probably everyone here knows that I need to do that. Okay, let's do some final words and we will go off air.
Ali, what
Yeah.
would you want to leave our viewers with?
I'd be very precise and quick. So something very significant, something very consequential that I am taking from this meeting is, which I already knew and I've relearned it today, is you don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. You have to listen to yourself and that inner guru that is hidden deep inside you. And it's not difficult to find that out. Thank you so much, Carla and Jeannie and Sir Kamran, for this amazing opportunity. It was such a treat to listen to all of you speak wisdom, which, I'd be very honest, it was a little difficult at the first place to remember and also to understand, because these are big concepts for someone of my age. But I did my best, and I'm taking with me a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and it was so much fun. I enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you. Thank you is all I can say.
Thanks, Ali. Kamran, final words?
Yeah. Do something that you've never done. That's another thing to discover your inner guru. Do something you've never done, but make sure that it's ethical and it doesn't in any way hurt anyone.
That's great.
That's very important. Do something you have never done every day. If that means just getting out and walking and not saying a word to anyone for 3 minutes, that's something you've never done. The next day, if you do it for 4 or 5 minutes, it's something you have never done. Remember, these small little things are things you have never done before, and they count for something you have never done. Jeanne, I'm sorry.
We're all. I just want to sum up with, we're all lifetime learners, and sometimes we learn the same thing over and over. And once we learn to listen to ourselves, we'll learn it and move on.
And the more we learn by listening to ourselves, the more we're going to blossom in the world. And that goes for every single person, every single insect, every single cat or dog or lion or whatever, every tree. It goes for everything in the world. And with that, we are over time. So it is time to go off air. The English conference is this coming week, actually Sunday and Monday, November 7th and 8th. And we are going to be discussing communication and the value of communication, including listening as well as speaking. We all speak, but do we all really listen? And I think that's a question we need to ask. Everyone needs to ask themselves. And with that, can we wave goodbye? Bye, everyone. See you next week and have a good day.